The lunar mining facility stood silent against the black sky. Once, it had been busy with workers digging for rare metals. Now it was just a group of empty buildings covered in moon dust. No signs of life, Hansol said, checking his scanner. But there's definitely power running somewhere inside. The squad wore special suits that let them breathe and move easily in the moon's low gravity. Tiger had a custom-built suit with clear panels, so Taeho could see the lights on its control panel. Sunmai, take point, Taeho ordered. Ji-1, cover the rear. Everyone stay alert. They moved toward the main building, their boots barely making prints in the hard-packed ground. The facility had 5 dome-shaped buildings connected by tunnels. The scanner showed the strange energy coming from the largest dome. Sunmai reached the entrance first. The door was already open. "This isn't right," she whispered through the comlink. These doors should have sealed automatically when the facility was abandoned. Taeho felt Tiger grow tense beside him. Through their bond, he sensed the animal's unease. "Proceed with caution," he said. Inside, emergency lights cast long shadows down empty hallways. The air was stale but breathable. The team removed their helmets but kept their suits on. "The energy reading is getting stronger," Hansol said, pointing down a corridor. "It's coming from the main mining shaft." They followed the corridor to a massive round room. In the center was a deep hole, the mining shaft that went kilometers into the moon's surface. "Look," Ji-1 pointed to the walls. "This equipment is new." She was right. Among the old mining tools were strange devices with glowing blue lights. They looked nothing like human technology. "Captain," Do-hyun's voice shook slightly. "I think we need to call this in." Before Taeho could answer, Tiger growled. The sound echoed in the large room. "What's wrong with?" Sunmai began, but Tiger suddenly leaped forward, knocking her down just as something fast and bright shot through the air where she had been standing. "Take cover," Taeho shouted. The squad scattered, diving behind equipment as more energy blasts hit the walls around them. Taeho looked up and saw them, 3 figures on a platform above. They weren't human. Their bodies were thin and tall, with skin that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Their eyes were large and completely black. "Aliens," Hansol whispered. "The same kind that attacked Earth 30 years ago." Ji-1 aimed her weapon and fired, but the aliens moved with impossible speed. "Sunma," Taeho called. She had been hit and was bleeding from her shoulder. Tiger was already moving. The big cat reached Sunma, grabbed the back of her suit with its teeth, and dragged her behind a large machine just as more shots hit around them. "Hansol, call for backup," Taeho ordered. "I can't. Something's blocking our signals." Do-hyun fired his weapon, hitting one of the aliens. It fell with a high-pitched scream. More aliens appeared from side doors. There were at least 10 now. "We need to get out of here," Taeho said. "Do-hyun, help Sunmi. Ji-1, Hansol, cover our retreat. Tiger, lead the way back to the ship." They moved as a unit, firing to keep the aliens back. Tiger stayed by Sunmi's side, helping Do-hyun support her. As they reached the corridor, an explosion shook the facility. Part of the ceiling collapsed behind them, blocking the aliens' path. "That buys us some time," Ji-1 said. They ran through the empty hallways, back to the entrance. Outside, the black sky was still empty. Their ship waited where they had left it. "Get her inside," Taeho ordered as they reached the ship. As Do-hyun started the engines, Taeho looked back at the facility. Through a window, he saw dozens of aliens gathering, watching them. "Captain," Hansol said quietly, "I managed to record some of their communications, and I took pictures of their equipment." Taeho nodded grimly. "Good, because I think they're planning something. Something big." The ship lifted off, leaving the moon behind. But Taeho knew this wasn't over. It was just beginning. The transmission reached Earth. Within hours, The Global Defense Force mobilized all its units. The warning from Squad 9 gave humanity the time it needed to prepare. When the alien fleet arrived 6 days later, Earth was ready. The battle was hard, but this time, humans won. The alien ships were destroyed or forced to retreat. Earth was safe again. But on the moon, in the dark tunnels beneath the old mining facility, Tiger waited. For 3 days, the biomechanical cat guarded the bodies of Hansol and Sunmai. It patrolled in circles around the room, stopping only to listen for sounds of enemies. When its energy ran low, Tiger would power down to minimum systems for short periods, then resume its watch. Tiger's programming told it to wait for new orders, so it waited. On the 4th day, Tiger heard noises in the tunnel, different from the aliens. Heavier footsteps, human voices. The cat moved into a defensive position, ready to protect the transmission equipment that had already served its purpose. 6 soldiers in GDF uniforms entered the room, weapons ready. They stopped when they saw Tiger. "Careful," one soldier said. "Those T-models can be dangerous if their handler is dead." "Is that?" Another soldier began, looking at the bodies. "Squad 9. The ones who sent the warning." The leader of the group stepped forward slowly. "T-17 unit," she said in a clear voice. "Stand down. We're from Earth GDF." Tiger didn't move. These weren't its handlers. These weren't its squad. Its neural link was with Captain Kim, a soldier with medical markings said. "It won't accept commands from anyone else." The leader tried again. "T-17, we need to recover the bodies of your squad for proper burial. Will you allow this?" Tiger watched them carefully. After a moment, it moved aside but kept its eyes on them as they gently lifted the bodies of Hansol and Sunmai. "We found 3 more bodies in the tunnels," a soldier reported over the radio. "Lieutenant Park, Private Choi, and what we think is Captain Kim, though it's hard to be sure. He took out a lot of aliens with him." The medical officer approached Tiger carefully. "Let me check your systems, T-17. You may need repairs." Tiger allowed the brief examination, but growled when the officer tried to attach a control leash to its collar. "I don't think it's going to leave," the officer said. "Its last order must have been to stay here." "We can't just leave a T-17 unit on the moon," the leader said. "It's too valuable. We may not have a choice." These models form deep bonds with their handlers. Without Captain Kim to give new orders, it might not accept reassignment. In the end, they left Tiger in the facility but set up a small automated station that would provide energy and basic maintenance. They thought the cat would eventually power down permanently or accept a new handler when its systems began to fail. They were wrong. Weeks passed, then months. Teams came to the moon to build a proper base, using the information gained from studying the alien technology. Each time, they tried to bring Tiger back to Earth. Each time, the biomechanical cat refused to leave its post. Scientists were fascinated. The T-17 should have accepted reset protocols or at least recognized chain-of-command overrides. But Tiger was different. Its bond with Taeho had been unusually strong. "It's still waiting for orders," one scientist observed, "from a captain who will never return." A year after the battle, GDF Command made a decision. The lunar facility would become a memorial to Squad 9, whose sacrifice had saved Earth, and Tiger would remain as its guardian. A simple plaque was placed at the entrance. Here stood the brave members of Special Reconnaissance Squad 9, who gave their lives to warn Earth of invasion. Captain Taeho Kim, Lieutenant Ji-won Park, Surgeon Han-sol Lee, Corporal Sun-mi Kang, and Private Do-hyun Choi. Heroes of humanity. And below that, a smaller line. Guarded still by T-17 Tiger, who awaits orders that will never come. Captain Taeho Kim stood tall as he watched the large metal crate being unloaded from the transport ship. His face showed no emotion, but his fingers tapped nervously against his leg. The year was 2187, and Earth was still rebuilding after the alien attack 30 years ago. "Captain Kim, "Your new battle companion has arrived," said the young officer who handed him a tablet to sign. "T-17 is the best model we have." Tai-ho signed without a word. He had fought in the war for 15 years without a companion. He didn't need one now. But orders were orders. The crate hissed open, releasing cold fog into the warm air of the military base. Inside, a massive tiger lay still, its orange and black fur crisscrossed with metallic implants. Its closed eyes suddenly snapped open, bright yellow with digital pupils that adjusted like camera lenses. "Does it have a name?" Tai-ho asked, keeping his distance. "Just T-17, the officer replied. "Most soldiers give them nicknames, though." The tiger rose to its feet. It was bigger than a natural tiger, almost chest-high to Tai-ho. Metal parts gleamed along its spine and legs. A small screen on its shoulder displayed its vital signs. "Tiger," Tai-ho said simply. "I'll call it Tiger." The beast's ears perked up at the sound of its new name. It stepped out of the crate and moved toward Tai-ho with surprising grace for something so large and partly mechanical. "The bonding process usually takes a few weeks," the officer explained, stepping back nervously. "But T-17 seems to like you already." Tiger stopped just in front of Tai-ho and lowered its massive head. Tai-ho hesitated, then placed his hand on the tiger's head. A small light on Tiger's neck turned from yellow to green. "Bond initiated," said a computerized voice from Tiger's collar. "Neural synchronization at 15%. Tai-ho felt a slight tingle in his hand. These new battle companions were not just machines. They were living animals enhanced with technology and genetic engineering. They could understand complex commands, feel loyalty, and make tactical decisions in battle. "You're assigned to the training field for the next 2 weeks," the officer said. "After that, you and T-17 will join your new squad." Over the next 14 days, Tai-ho and Tiger trained together from sunrise to sunset. They ran obstacle courses, practiced combat maneuvers, and worked on silent communication. Each day, the neural synchronization percentage grew higher. At first, Tai-ho kept his distance emotionally. The tiger was a tool, a weapon, not a friend. But on the 5th day of training, something changed. They were running a mountain trail when Tai-ho slipped on loose rocks and fell toward a steep drop. Before he could even shout, Tiger leaped forward, grabbed the back of his uniform in its teeth, and pulled him to safety. That night, Tai-ho snuck a piece of real meat, a rare luxury, to Tiger's holding pen. "Good work today," he said quietly. Tiger's eyes seemed to smile as it ate. By the end of 2 weeks, their neural synchronization reached 85%, much higher than average. When Tai-ho thought a command, Tiger would respond almost instantly. When danger approached, Tai-ho could feel a warning sensation through their bond. "Impressive results, Captain," said Commander Yoon during their final evaluation. "I'm assigning you to lead Special Reconnaissance Squad 9. Your first mission briefing is tomorrow." That night, Tai-ho reviewed the files of his new squad members. Lieutenant Jae-won Park, Sergeant Han-sol Lee, Corporal Sun Mi-kang, and Private Do-hyun Choi. All good soldiers with clean records. "Looks like we have a new team, Tiger," Tai-ho said, scratching behind the big cat's ear. Tiger rumbled a deep purr that vibrated through the floor. For the first time since the war, Tai-ho felt something like hope. With Tiger at his side and a solid squad behind him, maybe they could make a difference. Maybe they could make sure the aliens never returned to Earth. Little did he know how soon that belief would be tested. The year was 2287. A full century had passed since Squad 9's last stand on the moon. The memorial room had changed over the years. What began as a simple plaque had grown into a small museum. Pictures of the squad members lined the walls. Their personal items, Jae-won's lucky knife, Do-hyun's music player, Sun Mi's family medallion, sat in glass cases. In the center stood a statue of the 5 heroes, with Tiger at their feet. But the real Tiger still patrolled. Its movements were slower now. Some of its parts had been replaced so many times that engineers joked nothing original remained. Yet something essential remained unchanged: its purpose, its memory of Tai-Ho and his final order. On the 100th anniversary of the battle, a special visitor arrived at the lunar base. Commander Yoon-seo Kim stepped off the transport ship and looked around with interest. At 42, she was one of the youngest commanders in the GDF fleet. Her dark hair was cut short, and her uniform bore the marks of many successful missions. "Welcome to Lunar Base Memorial, Commander Kim," said the base captain, saluting. "We're honored to have you here for the ceremony." "The honor is mine," Yoon-seo replied. "My great-grandfather gave his life here." The captain's eyes widened. "You're Captain Tai-Ho Kim's descendant?" Yoon-seo nodded. "My grandfather was born a month after Tai-Ho left for his final mission." He never knew his father. They walked through the base toward the memorial. Other dignitaries and officers had gathered for the centennial ceremony, but Yoon-seo had come for another reason. "Is it true?" she asked the captain. "Is Tiger still functional after all this time?" "Yes, though we rarely see it these days. It spends most of its time in the old tunnels. The engineers say its systems are finally beginning to fail beyond repair." Yoon-seo reached into her pocket and pulled out a small box. "I found this in my family's things. My grandfather kept it all his life." Inside the box was a tarnished silver medallion, the service medal that had been awarded to Tai-Ho Kim after his death. After the main ceremony, when the other visitors had left, Yoon-seo asked to visit the old tunnels alone. The captain was reluctant, but eventually agreed. "Tiger knows these tunnels better than anyone," he said. "If it wants to be found, it will find you." Yoon-seo walked slowly through the dark passages, her flashlight casting long shadows. This was where her great-grandfather had made his last stand. This was where Tiger had waited for a century. She was about to turn back when she heard a soft mechanical sound. There, in the beam of her flashlight, stood Tiger. Its once bright fur was now gray and patchy. Its metal parts were worn but still functional. Its yellow eyes studied her carefully. "Hello, Tiger," Yoon-seo said softly. "My name is Yoon-seo Kim." Tiger's ears perked up at the name. It took a step forward, then stopped, as if uncertain. "You've been waiting a long time," she continued. "Longer than anyone thought possible." Tiger tilted its head, looking at her face closely. Then it did something it had never done with any visitor before. It approached her slowly. Yoon-seo stayed still as Tiger circled her, sniffing. The biomechanical cat had sensors that could detect genetic markers. After 100 years, it was recognizing something familiar in her DNA, a connection to Tai-Ho. She held out her hand with the medallion. This belonged to him. Tiger looked at the medallion, then gently took it in its mouth. "He would be proud of you," Yoon-seo said, her voice breaking slightly. "You completed your mission. You helped save Earth." Tiger placed the medallion carefully on the ground between them. Then it sat down, looking up at her as if waiting. Yoon-seo understood. For 100 years, Tiger had been waiting for new orders from its captain. Orders that never came. She straightened her back and said in a clear, kind voice, "At ease, soldier. Mission complete." Tiger's eyes seemed to brighten. Then slowly, for the first time in a century, its combat systems powered down. The lights on its control panel dimmed, but didn't go out completely. Tiger lowered itself to the ground, curling up beside the medallion. It wasn't shutting down, not entirely. It was simply, finally, resting. Yoon-seo sat down beside Tiger and placed her hand gently on its head. Together, they stayed in the quiet tunnels where a brave squad had once saved humanity, and where the most loyal companion in history had kept its final promise. "What do you mean, inconclusive?" Tai-Ho asked, his voice rising. He stood in front of Commander Yoon's desk, trying to stay calm. "Your evidence isn't enough," Commander Yoon said. "Some strange equipment and a few aliens don't prove an invasion is coming." It had been 3 days since Squad 9 returned from the moon. Sunlight was still in the medical bay, recovering from her wound. The rest of the squad waited outside the commander's office. "Sir, with respect, we saw them. The same aliens who nearly destroyed Earth 30 years ago. They're back, and they're planning something." Commander Yoon sighed. "Captain Kim, the Defense Council won't approve a full military response based on what you've brought me. We need more evidence." Tai-ho left the office, frustration clear on his face. His squad looked at him hopefully. "They don't believe us," he told them. "So what do we do now?" Jae-won asked. Tai-ho thought for a moment. "We go back. Back to the moon." Do-hyun's eyes widened. "Without approval?" "Yes," Tai-ho said. "We need more evidence." "Han-sol, what did you learn from the alien communications you recorded?" Han-sol pulled out his tablet. "Not much. Their language is complex. But I found references to something beneath the surface. Something big." "That's where we'll look," Tai-ho decided. "But first, let's check on Sunmei." They found Sunmei sitting up in her hospital bed, looking pale but alert. Tiger lay on the floor beside her bed, watching her carefully. "Your cat hasn't left my side," Sunmei said with a small smile. "He knows you're part of our squad," Tai-ho replied. Then he told her their plan to return to the moon. "I'm coming with you," Sunmei said immediately. "You're injured. I can still work. And you'll need me for stealth." That night, they took a small transport ship without official permission. Do-hyun's flight skills helped them leave Earth undetected. "If we're caught, we could all lose our ranks," Jae-won said as they approached the moon. "If we're right about the aliens, ranks won't matter much," Tai-ho replied. They landed far from the mining facility and approached on foot. With Sunmei's guidance, they found a small side entrance that didn't appear on the official maps. "This must lead to the lower levels," she whispered. Tiger went first, its enhanced senses scanning for danger. The passage led deep below the surface, through narrow tunnels that looked like they had been recently dug. After an hour of careful movement, they reached a massive cavern. What they saw made them freeze in shock. The cavern held a huge alien structure. It looked like a giant antenna, pointing up toward the roof of the cave. Around it, hundreds of aliens worked, moving equipment and checking screens. "It's a communication array," Han-sol whispered. "Bigger than anything we have on Earth." "Can you tap into it?" Tai-ho asked. Han-sol nodded and pulled out his equipment. He worked quickly, placing small devices on the cave wall that could intercept the alien signals. "I'm getting something," he said after several minutes. "Oh no." "What?" Jae-won asked. "They're calling for reinforcements. A massive fleet. They'll be here in less than a week." Tai-ho's face hardened. "We need to get this information back to Earth. Now." As they turned to leave, an alarm sounded. Red lights flashed throughout the cavern. "They've detected us," Sunmei said. "Run," Tai-ho ordered. They sprinted back through the tunnels, but when they reached the exit, they found it blocked by a group of armed aliens. "There's no way out," Do-hyun said, his voice shaking. "Yes, there is," Tai-ho replied. "But first, we need to send a warning to Earth. Han-sol, can you transmit from here?" Han-sol checked his equipment. "Yes, but it will take time to set up a strong enough signal. And once I start transmitting, they'll know exactly where we are." Tai-ho looked at his squad, the people he had come to trust with his life, and he looked at Tiger, who waited for his command. "Then we'll give you that time," he said. "Get ready for a fight. We need to find a place to hold them off," Tai-ho said, looking around the tunnel. "Somewhere with good cover." Jae-won pointed to a small room off the main tunnel. "There. It has only one entrance to defend." They hurried inside. The room had once been a storage area for mining equipment. Old metal boxes and shelves offered some protection. Han-sol, set up your transmission equipment, Tai-ho ordered. "How long will you need?" "At least 15 minutes to connect with Earth. Then another 10 to send all the data." 25 minutes, Tai-ho said. We need to hold for 25 minutes. They could hear the aliens approaching. Sounds of strange voices and heavy footsteps filled the tunnels. Everyone take positions, Taiho said. Sunmei, can you still shoot? She nodded, though her injured shoulder clearly hurt. I can shoot well enough. Do-hyun, stay with Hansol. Help him with whatever he needs. Yes, sir, the young pilot said. Jae-won checked her weapon. I'll take the left side of the door. I'll take the right, Taiho said. Then he turned to Tiger. Protect the transmission, no matter what. Tiger's eyes flashed green in understanding. The first aliens appeared moments later. G1 fired, hitting the leader. More came behind it. The battle had begun. For the first 10 minutes, they held the aliens back easily. But then more enemies arrived with better weapons. They're bringing in heavier guns, G1 shouted. Just then, they heard a different sound, the roar of engines. That's a dropship, Do-hyun said, recognizing the sound. They're bringing in reinforcements. Hansol looked up from his equipment. I've made contact with Earth, but the signal is weak. I need to boost it. How? Taiho asked, firing his weapon at another wave of aliens. There's a power relay station near the landing area, Hansol explained. If I can connect to it, our signal will be strong enough. That's suicide, Sunmai said. Do-hyun suddenly stood up. I'll go. I can fly anything, even alien ships. Before anyone could stop him, Do-hyun grabbed a small pack of explosives from their supplies and ran for the door. Cover him, Taiho ordered. They fired rapidly, creating a path for Do-hyun. The young pilot moved fast, dodging energy blasts as he ran down the tunnel. They lost sight of him, but soon heard the sound of fighting from outside. Then an explosion shook the walls. What was that? Jae-won asked. Hansol checked his readings. The alien dropship, it's gone. And I'm getting a power surge. He did it. But there was no sign of Do-hyun returning. Keep fighting, Taiho said, though his heart was heavy. The transmission was working now, sending vital data to Earth. But they still had to hold on for 7 more minutes. More aliens came. An energy blast hit Sunmei's position, sending her flying backward. Sunmei, Jae-won shouted. The stealth expert didn't move. Tiger rushed to her side, nudging her with its nose, but there was no response. Keep firing, Taiho ordered, though his voice cracked. Jae-won moved to a better position, firing steadily. How much longer, Hansol? 5 minutes. The next wave of aliens came with a new weapon, a large cannon that fired blasts of blue energy. Take cover, Taiho yelled. The blast hit the wall near Jae-won, sending chunks of rock everywhere. When the dust cleared, Jae-won stood alone against dozens of aliens. Go, she shouted to Taiho and Hansol. Find another way out. I'll hold them. We won't leave you, Taiho called back. Jae-won smiled sadly. It's been an honor, Captain. Then she charged forward, firing her weapon and throwing grenades. The tunnel filled with explosions and screams. When it quieted, Jae-won was gone. Only Taiho, Hansol, and Tiger remained. The transmission was still sending, and the aliens were still coming. The room was quiet now. The sound of alien footsteps had stopped, but Taiho knew it wouldn't last long. They were probably regrouping, planning their next attack. Hansol worked frantically on his equipment. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. But he didn't seem to notice. How much more time? Taiho asked, reloading his weapon with his last power pack. 3 minutes for the main data, Hansol said. Then 2 more minutes to send the tactical information about their weapons and weaknesses. Taiho looked at his old friend. They had known each other for years, fought side by side in many battles. Now they were the last ones left. Taiho's eyes moved to the bodies of Sunmei, still lying where she had fallen. Jae-won hadn't even made it back to the room. Tiger stood guard at the door, ears alert for any sound. The big cat's armor was scorched in several places, but it showed no signs of slowing down. "They're coming back," Hansol said, looking at his scanner. "A lot of them. And something else. Something big." Taiho made a decision then. A hard one, but the only choice they had. "Hansol, keep working on the transmission. No matter what happens, that data has to reach Earth." Hansol looked up, suddenly worried. "What are you planning?" "I'm going to draw them away," Taiho said simply. "Give you time to finish." "That's suicide," Hansol said, shaking his head. "I can't let you." A blast hit the wall outside, cutting him off. The aliens were starting their attack again. "There's no time to argue," Taiho said. "The warning has to get through. The whole Earth depends on it." He turned to Tiger. "You stay here. Protect Hansol and the transmission. That's an order." Tiger made a low sound in its throat, as if objecting. "Complete the mission. Wait for new orders," Taiho said firmly, looking into Tiger's eyes. "That's an order." The big cat's ears lowered, but it moved to Hansol's side. Through their bond, Taiho felt Tiger's reluctance and worry. Hansol stood and grabbed Taiho's arm. "It's been an honor, Captain. Take care of Tiger for me," Taiho said, trying to smile. Then he grabbed several grenades and ran for the door. In the tunnel, he fired his weapon in the air and shouted as loud as he could. "Hey, over here." The aliens turned, seeing a lone human running away from the room. They followed, just as Taiho had hoped. He ran through the tunnels, leading them away from Hansol and Tiger. When he reached a large junction where several tunnels met, he waited. The aliens approached cautiously, their weapons ready. Behind them came something larger, a massive alien in what looked like battle armor. Their commander, Taiho realized. He took a deep breath and prepared for his final act. Taiho thought of his squad: brave Du Hyun, skilled Sun Mai, fierce Jai Won, and loyal Hansol. He thought of Tiger, his faithful companion. "For Earth," he whispered. Then he charged. Taiho fired as he ran, hitting several aliens before they could react. He threw a grenade at the ceiling above the commander, causing rocks to fall. Then he attacked with everything he had. Back in the storage room, Hansol worked desperately. His hand shook as he connected the final pieces of the transmission. "Almost there," he said to Tiger. "Just one more minute." Suddenly, an alien appeared in the doorway. Before Hansol could react, it fired. The blast hit him in the chest, knocking him back against the wall. Tiger leaped forward with a roar, tearing into the alien. More enemies appeared, but Tiger fought like a storm, following its last order to protect the transmission. With his last strength, Hansol reached up and pressed the final button. "Transmission complete," he whispered. Then his hand fell to his side, and he didn't move again. Tiger stood alone in the room, surrounded by dead aliens. Through the tunnels came the sounds of more enemies approaching. The big cat looked at Hansol, then at the transmission equipment that now blinked green. The mission was complete. But Tiger still waited for new orders. The meeting room was small but clean. Taiho sat at the head of the table with Tiger lying at his feet. The door slid open and 4 soldiers walked in, each stopping to salute before taking the seat. "At ease," Taiho said. "I'm Captain Taiho Kim. This is Tiger. We're all part of Special Reconnaissance Squad 9 now." The woman with short black hair spoke first. "Lieutenant Ji-won Park, weapons specialist." She nodded at Tiger with interest. "Nice model. The T-17s are supposed to be the best." Next to her, a tall man with a friendly smile raised his hand. "Sergeant Hansol Lee, Communications. We served together in the Northern Defense Line, Captain. Good to see you again." Taiho nodded. He remembered Hansol. They had fought side by side 3 years ago. A smaller woman with alert eyes spoke next. "Corporal Sun McCang. Stealth and recon are my specialties. The last member was young, barely out of training by the look of him. Private Do-hyun Choi, sir. Pilot. They say I'm the best in my class. His confident words didn't match his nervous face. Being the best in class is different from being the best in the field, Tae-ho said. Out there, we rely on each other. We're a team now. Tae-ho pressed a button, and a 3D map appeared above the table. It showed the moon with a blinking red dot on its surface. This is our mission, he explained. 3 days ago, sensors picked up strange energy readings from an abandoned mining facility on the dark side of the moon. It could be nothing. It could be something big. Our job is to find out. Aliens? Do-hyun asked, his eyes wide. Maybe, Tae-ho said. We haven't seen them in almost 30 years, but we can't take chances. Han-sol leaned forward. What's the plan, Captain? We leave tomorrow at 600. It's a standard recon mission. We go in quiet, check the facility, and report back. No unnecessary risks. After the briefing, the squad went to the equipment room to prepare. Jae-won checked each weapon with expert care. Sun-mei packed her stealth gear. Han-sol tested communication devices. Do-hyun studied the flight plan. Tae-ho watched them work. They were good soldiers, but they hadn't fought together before. That worried him. Tiger seemed to sense his concern. The big cat pressed against his leg, and Tae-ho felt a wave of calm through their bond. That night, the squad gathered in the base cafeteria. It was a tradition before missions, sharing a meal together. So, Jae-won said, cutting her food, anyone want to share their good luck ritual? Han-sol pulled out a small photo from his pocket. I look at my family before each mission. Reminds me what I'm fighting for. Sun-mei showed them a knife with symbols carved on the handle. My grandfather's. He fought in the first alien war. Do-hyun blushed. I have a lucky song I listened to before takeoff. They all looked at Tae-ho. I don't believe in luck, he said. I believe in preparation and teamwork. Jae-won laughed. That sounds exactly like what my old captain used to say. As they talked, something changed in the room. They were no longer strangers. They were becoming a squad. The next morning, they boarded their ship. It was small but fast, perfect for a quiet approach to the moon. Do-hyun's hands moved confidently over the controls. Maybe he really was as good as he claimed. As they launched into space, Tae-ho looked at each member of his team. Ji-won checked weapons one last time. Han-sol monitored communications. Sun-mei reviewed the facility maps. Do-hyun focused on piloting. Tiger sat alert, watching everything. Squad 9, Tae-ho said, this is a simple mission. We go in, we look around, we come back. Stay sharp and stay together. The Earth grew smaller behind them as they flew toward the moon. None of them knew that this simple mission would change everything, not just for them, but for all of humanity. 5 years passed, then 10, then 20. The moon base grew larger. What had once been a small mining facility became a major hub for Earth's space operations. Thousands of people now lived and worked there. And through it all, Tiger continued its patrol. Each day followed the same pattern. The biomechanical cat would walk the exact route it had established when guarding Squad 9's position. It would circle the memorial room, then move through the tunnels where the battle had taken place, checking each spot where a squad member had fallen. Engineers were amazed by Tiger's self-maintenance abilities. The T-17 models had been designed to last maybe 15 years at most, yet Tiger kept functioning year after year. It's repairing itself, one engineer reported after observing Tiger for several weeks, using parts from the maintenance station in ways we never programmed. It's adapting. When the original maintenance station began to fail, GDF installed a newer model. Tiger examined it cautiously at first, then learned to use it to keep its systems running. 30 years after the battle, the moon base became home to a military academy. Young cadets trained to become the next generation of GDF officers. The story of Squad 9 was required learning, and visits to the memorial were part of every cadet's education. The cadets developed a tradition. They would leave small tokens at the memorial, polished stones, unit badges, or small flowers grown in the base's gardens, and they would salute Tiger if they saw it on patrol. At first, Tiger ignored the cadets, but after many years, it began to acknowledge them with a slight nod as they passed. It never let anyone touch it, though. The only humans who had ever touched Tiger were long dead. Why doesn't it accept a new handler? A cadet once asked her instructor. Surely after 50 years, its programming would allow it. Some things go beyond programming, the instructor replied. The bond between Captain Kim and his Tiger was something special, something we still don't fully understand. Scientists continued to study Tiger from a distance. They couldn't explain how its systems kept working decades after its expected lifespan. Some suggested that the neural bond with Taeho had changed Tiger on a fundamental level, creating new pathways in its biomechanical brain. It's not just following orders anymore, one scientist wrote in her report. It's fulfilling a promise. 60 years after the battle, GDF ordered all older model biomechanical units to be retired and replaced with newer versions. When technicians came for Tiger, they found themselves facing not just the old cat, but dozens of cadets and officers who had formed a protective line around the memorial. Tiger stays, the base commander said simply, by order of GDF command. The technicians left, and Tiger remained. On the 75th anniversary of Earth's victory over the aliens, a special ceremony was held at the memorial. High-ranking officers from all over the solar system came to pay their respects. Tiger watched from a distance, its once bright orange fur now faded, its metal parts showing wear despite constant maintenance. An old woman approached the memorial. She walked with a cane but stood straight as she laid a medal on the plaque. "My father was Hansol Lee," she said to the assembled officers. "He never got to meet me. I was born 2 months after he died here." She looked at Tiger. "But I grew up knowing that his sacrifice, and the sacrifice of all of Squad 9, saved our world." Tiger watched her, its yellow eyes still bright and alert. It didn't approach, but it tilted its head slightly as if listening to her words. That night, after everyone had left, Tiger continued its patrol. Year after year, decade after decade, it maintained its vigil. It had outlived its squad, outlived its creators, even outlived the expected lifespan of its own components. But it had not outlived its purpose. It still waited for orders.